This is to introduce Xsemble. Let me launch Xsemble now. As you can see, Xsemble is a combination of three desktop applications: Developers Workbench, Assemblers Workbench, and Monitoring Workbench. The Developers Workbench lets you work with components. Assemblers Workbench lets you work with X-flowcharts, which is the same as the project blueprint. And Monitoring Workbench is about monitoring the running application. So let us launch the Assemblers Workbench to start with, because that's where we see X-flowcharts. So an X-flowchart is basically a blueprint of an application. It gives you the control flow and data flow. The control flow is shown by the black or the gray arrows, and the data flow is shown by the blue colored arrows. So these circles, they are basically the data nodes, and the other ones are the executional nodes. As in a flowchart, the control starts with the start node. After start node, now you can see that it has gone to an ask name page. Anything with a folded corner like this is basically a page. So you can see another page here, which is say hello. So this page is going to ask you your name, and this page is going to say hello to you. In between, there is an entry point node. An entry point node is encountered whenever you enter a server. So basically, as you understand, in a web application, the page gets born on the server side, and then it goes and gets displayed in the browser. So now from the browser, it has to go back to the server. So whenever it is going back to the server, the only kind of node that is capable of taking a request from outside on behalf of server is the entry point node, and that's where the entry point node gets encountered, and then it passes the control to a page that is again starting within the same layer. So that is the say hello page. So this is how the control flow is working. And now the name that is passed to the entry point also acts like a translator. So it converts that name into a server side variable, and then that goes to say hello. So this is roughly how an X-flowchart works. Now there are of course bigger X-flowcharts that we have used for different applications. Now for example, here is a application from manufacturing industry which we recently did. Then there is a pretty large application. It's a recruitment application, our own application that we have, and that takes a long time to open itself because that has got so many nodes. Let me just zoom out so we can see the complete flow of this application. See, it is this complex an application. If you look at the statistics, it has got 1338 nodes basically, and this page can tell you what kind of nodes they are. So anyway, this X-flowchart basically gives us what kind of control flow and data flow an application has. We are going to understand this working of Xsemble with a very simple small application so that our complexities are not very high there. So let me close these guys. Now let us quickly look at what we do in case of a new application. So we start creating a new project here, and we give some project name, and then we choose what kind of technology this project is going to use. So you look at, there are multiple technologies. There are technologies for making web applications, there are technologies for making desktop applications, command line applications, and then based on whatever technology that you choose, it will suggest the initial layers. So for a PHP web application, you have web layer that is displayed on the browser, and then you have got PHP web, that is the server layer, and then you can also add further layers in addition to that, and this kind of thing would be required in case you are dealing with microservices. But you know, this is how you start another project. Currently I am just going to cancel it because we are not starting with a new project. We are just going to learn this Xsemble application using our demo hello application. So Xsemble development goes through three steps: design, develop, and burn. In the design phase, you create the X-flowchart. That also creates the components behind those. Each of these nodes have some components behind it. We are going to look at those components in a bit. But for now, just understand that creating the X-flowchart and the corresponding components is the job of the design phase. After the design, there is a development phase. That's where you add code, you add business logic to the components in a generated code template. And then comes the last part, which is the burn. That's where we are going to create the application code. Now, because we have this demo application, the design step is already done. Design and develop, both stages are already done. All we need to do is to burn the application. So I'm just going to burn the application. Click start. And the application is currently burning. See, it has said burn successful, and that's about it. So in the background it has done a lot of things. So it has printed those messages on the console. For now, what is important for us to know is that the application is successful, and I can run it from my Tomcat server. Tomcat is a famous server for the Java developers. It is it would help us run a Java web application. I started Tomcat, and Xsemble has already compiled our code and also deployed it on Tomcat server. That's why I can just start it and check the application here. So what you see now is the first page, which is here, this ask name page. This ask name page is now asking for your name. Let me put the name, my name Ashish. Click go, and now it is the other page, hello Ashish. That's saying hello to me, right? So basically this application has worked. Now let's go beyond this application and let's start making changes to the application. So the first change that we are going to do is without doing any development or without writing a single line of code. All I'm going to do is change the application's design and make a change to the application. The first step is to look at the anatomy of the node. Now here you can see that ask name is the name of the page instance. The instance word is actually very interesting here, because that instance means that that node is an instance of something that is more basic, more fundamental than the node. And what is more fundamental than the node? That is the component. So it is an instance of a component that is located somewhere else. So you can see the next line, it is page/impl. The page is the component that is underlying this. So here we can see that there is a get name page, and that get name page is located under demo1.hello repo, and that's why it is shown under those square brackets. So now this get name is behind this particular node. How do I go to get name? So the components can be seen only in a developer's workbench. I can go here and I can say base component select in developer's workbench, and it says could not connect to developer's workbench. It is not running. So let me launch developer's workbench and repeat that same thing. Select in developer's workbench. Now it has done that, and it is showing me all the components within that repository. So this demo1.hello repo is the repository. It's a box in which components sit, and this get name is the component that we wanted as the base component of ask name. Similarly, say hello has another base component. You can see show name here. Entry get name has yet another component, it's name getter. So you got the concept of components. Now as we saw, the pages are the UI, entry points are the components that accept connection from outside the layer for a server layer, and now process name is a rectangle. We have not encountered this kind of component before. This is a method component. So a method component is basically responsible for all kinds of useful work. That could be going and talking to a database, like saving something or retrieving something, or running some algorithm, or going to some web service and calling something. Yeah, even going and calling an LLM. So all those things are basically done by this method components. So in this case, let us look at what the method component does. When I double clicked, I could see the edit window. There are in arguments and out arguments. That is the first thing that I am going to see here. So the in argument is a name, which is a string, and the out argument is also another string called as process name. Here we can infer what this component is doing. It is taking a name and it is doing some processing on it and returning the process name. Correct? So let's just cancel this, come back here, and now the way we are going to change this application is to put this process name somewhere in between here, between entry get name and say hello. to process this username before it goes to say hello. Let's get started. So basically this was a method component, so I need to create a method instance. So let me create this. I can say process my name. This could be anything, and I can merely type spaces, as you can see, so I don't have to make it a geeky kind of name. Now you can see that there is process name, and then legacy Java is an implementation. This implementation is compatible with the technology that I am using for this project. You could see that the layer is Jakarta E, so the technology that is compatible with that layer is legacy Java. There are other implementations in case of this particular component being a demo component, but then the other implementations are not compatible with this technology, that's why they are not shown. So I'm just going to choose this and click OK, so that this process my name is created here. Now we need to make the connections. So from this entry get name, which is going to say hello, instead of that it should go to process my name, right? And that means that I need to connect the exit path of entry get name. Let me do that. Connect exit executable node to connect its process my name. Connect that. Now it says the exit path next is already connected to say hello. Do you want to use the same exit path? When I click OK, then the say hello connection is broken, and now a new connection is created to process my name. Now let's similarly connect this exit path of process my name to say hello. Done. Now it's time for the data node to be connected. So process my name should get this user name as the input. Let's connect that. In data is the username. Connect. That's the name argument, and I'm saying OK. Let me connect the out data also to the same username, and the name of the argument is process name, as you could see there in the component definition. And now my change is complete. Let me save this and let me burn this application. What did we do just now? We just made change to the application without doing any change in the code. We just changed the design, and let's see what this burnt application is going to give us. It says hello famous Ashish. So basically now we know what it has done. This famous got changed, right? This process name took Ashish and then converted it to famous Ashish. What if we want to change that behavior? Now we are going to the next step, where we are actually going to change the implementation of a component, right? Where does the code of the component sit? We are going to look at that, and for that I am going to wear a developer's hat for changing the code. If I want to change that famous, should I change here, should I change here, should I change here, or should I change here? We know that it's going to be process my name. So the component behind that process my name is this process name, and now we are going to change this component, correct? So the point that I am trying to make is that it's going to be much easier, even in a larger application, to pinpoint the particular component where the changes are going to be made, and then we just go to that component and make changes. We don't have to look at the entire application code. So inside this process name, we know that there are all these various implementations, and legacy Java is the implementation that is being used here. So let me click on that, and I get the component implementation dialog box. Now this is where it is giving me a complete name of a Java class that stands as an implementation, and let me click the button in front of it so that I am going to see the template and implementation code dialog box here. On one side it shows a code template that was just generated right now, and it's basically having a run method. You can see that in argument and out arguments are already created. Those are Java variables. The exit path is also defined, and then comes the user block code, which says that to do your implementation comes here. So this was just now auto generated. This is the input to developers. What we see on the right hand side is the same thing, but with the user code block filled in. So basically this is the job of a developer, to fill in the user code block at a minimal in such a way that the business logic, basically this is the business logic code. So to honor that, this is the line that the developer has written, and you can see that it has taken the same inner name and the outer process name. So basically again, at the cost of repetition, I'm just saying that this one line is the only change that the developer has to do. All the rest of the stuff is already automatically generated for the developer, so much of the labor is reduced. So now let's change this famous into happy, and click OK and click yes. So I made a change, and now the status has changed to in progress. So let me mark it as implemented. I don't have to say that it's in progress, and click OK. So it is done. Now if I burn this application, what do you expect? We expect that the same thing now will give the change result. So instead of famous Ashish is going to give us happy Ashish, isn't it? Yep. So as a big picture, understand that we are looking at something that saves a lot of effort for the developers. In fact, we are saving them the trouble of looking at the entire application. We are just saying that within a component there is going to be some code that will be automatically generated, and all you need to do is add business logic to that code, and there you could do whatever a programmer can do. So we are not taking you out of your comfort zone. You can do all kinds of coding, and you could also use your favorite coding editors, whatever that you are used to, for doing that. You don't have to do it inside this editor that I showed. Because you are coding within a component, you are looking at a very small piece of code that you have to work on. You understand those things much better. You can control, you can have better control, so you can have better quality code, and you can also do it fast. So this is what Xsemble is giving you out of the box. Now let us quickly look at the last one, monitoring workbench. This guy lets you connect to a working application and see what is happening with that application, monitor it live. So developers do some code debugging. So this is the visual version of that. This is the visual debugging, so to say. Now it says enter monitoring key to connect to the application. Where is the monitoring key? So whenever we burnt this application in Xsemble5 workbench, we actually gave it a monitoring key. Let us find that out. So here you can see these layer parameters, and then there are many parameters. Out of them, there is the last one is monitoring key, and we have set it to ABCD. In practical case, when you have your own application, create a difficult to remember monitoring key. It should not be as simple as ABCD, and give it to only those people who can use it for monitoring your application. Anyway, let me connect to this application using the key. I am now monitoring the application. Great. So let me run this application again. Enter name Ashish, and it says hello happy Ashish. But what is happening here? Oh, something is working here. Let me do this again. Let me put always on top for that first. Instead of Ashish, let's make it John. Yeah, something is happening, right? See, this ask name page is highlighted because I loaded that page. And if I put Paul here, click go, the pages are getting highlighted, the nodes are being highlighted as to how the execution is going. So let's quickly see this execution report overall. There are many ways in which you can pull the report, and it will tell you, which nodes participated in the action, ask name, entry get name, process my name. You could also see the timestamps of these nodes right here. So you can see that first ask name was invoked, it's a page instance. Then there was entry get name, that's an entry point instance. Then process my name. So it's going the way we want to say hello. And then the same process happened twice again. Now there is another more interesting report, that is value assignment report. So let's pull that up, and now we see for there is only one node username for which we are seeing that what kind of values got assigned to it. So the value was Ashish, and that was set by entry get name. See, does that make sense? From entry get name, it set the value as Ashish to this node, and then process my name, this guy, it set the value as happy Ashish. So this guy made the change, just added happy to it and put it back into this node. So that is being seen over here in this report. Similarly, next time it was John and happy John, and then Paul and happy Paul. So this monitoring workbench is actually telling you what happened during the interval that it was monitoring. So this was very short, quick introduction of Xsemble. There is much more in Xsemble. There are design checks, there are management related stuff, but we can show that later. Thanks for watching.